What's good, YouTube? It's your boy TSO Siege, and welcome to Word is Law episode 4. Before we get into anything, can you guys subscribe, please? I just want to hit this 50 goal, bro. I want to celebrate 50 subs. I have a video planned for it and everything, but I can't drop the video until we hit 50 subs, bro. So just 2 of you guys subscribe, and that video will come out literally the second I see it. Now, today's an introduction to a new sub-series where I talk about if a player is overrated or underrated. I'm also only talking about players that are going to make it to Orlando, so guys like Steph Curry and Trae Young will not be mentioned in this video unless for a reference. Obviously, I'm not about to name every single player that's in the Orlando tournament. I'm only talking about starters, and for this video, I'm only talking about starting point guards. Now, before we get into it, I just hope we know what overrated and underrated means, right? Because if you ask 50 people if J.Holiday is underrated and all 50 say, oh yeah, he's underrated, I don't mean to be the negative guy in the room, but that perhaps means he's not underrated, right? Being overrated or underrated means simply that you're overrating someone's value or you're underrating someone's value. Your favorite player in the world can be overrated, if that makes sense, and you should be able to acknowledge that unless you're just a fanboy. Also, absence of fame does not mean someone is underrated. It just means they're not flashy or people don't want to talk about them that much. That only matters if, let's say, we're talking about the top 10 point guards in the league and someone doesn't mention Steph Curry, then you're underrating Steph Curry. But just because I'm not talking about Steph Curry every day I talk about basketball does not mean I'm underrating Steph Curry. The level someone is appreciated is not equal to the level they're rated or valued. It's simply more entertaining to talk about rookies such as Ja Morant than guys like Kemba Walker. See, on Word is Law, we like to break shit down and use our minds, right? We break shit down, we get the good shit, the good answers. I don't clickbait. All of this shit is actually how I feel, bruh. Because if you don't know why I call it Word is Law, my shit valid, bro. So understand that this is the one and only non-debatable answer. Also understand that not every player in the league is underrated or overrated. There's some fairly rated players. In fact, most of the players in the league are fairly rated, but some, hell nah. Also, please understand that if I say your favorite player is overrated or underrated, that does not mean I hate or don't like that player. I'm just simply stating that they're overrated or underrated. Because I already know how 2020 get down. I say somebody overrated without disclaiming it like how I just did. Oh nah, I want to fight their mother. I hate them so much. No, bro, I promise you. Overrated don't mean hated. But I'm gonna start off with somebody who's fairly rated. Ricky Rubio of the Phoenix Suns. Ricky Rubio is at worst a good playmaker. I'd argue he's one of the best in the league. He's a little suspect of a shooter, but other than that, he's Ricky Rubio. Nobody out here sicing Ricky Rubio. We all know that's D-Book team. And oh yeah, I guess he played good defense too. DeJounte Murray is pretty much an all-around point guard. You plug him into any system and he almost works. He can do a little bit of everything, but he's not great at anything except maybe his defense. He's definitely an above average defender. But other than that, again, nobody's out here sicing DeJounte Murray except Spurs fans maybe. But even then, that's 2 years ago. Bro averages 10 points. Solid player, could play on almost any team, but come on. Now let's turn up a bit. De'Aaron Fox is underrated, dog. Underrated and underappreciated. Buddy Hield is his second option. Marvin Bagley doesn't play, and Luke Walton is his coach. Despite all of these things, the Kings might still make the playoffs. And when you think of top 10 point guards, people are quicker to think of Ja Morant than De'Aaron Fox, which is insane. Fox has matured his game completely, not only making the Kings a winning basketball team, but making himself an immensely better player. Assists and steals per game do not mean he's a worse passer and worse defender if you watch any Kings game, which you probably don't, but he's definitely grown on that side. And for those whose stats run everything, you can at least admit that Fox across the board has become a better scorer. He still has lots of room to grow, especially with that jump shot, but overall, nah, bro underrated like shit. His new style of play is more mature. It's not necessarily the flashiest anymore. I'm not even halfway saying Fox isn't exciting, but I am saying the more mature style of play has resulted in less ESPN top 10 highlights, and therefore a lot less people are even talking about him or even know he exists. Therefore, when someone mentions De'Aaron Fox, they're more dismissive. They're even saying names like J.Holiday before De'Aaron Fox, and that's just insane. For all he's doing, he's not in the worst situation, but he's definitely underrated. J.Holiday is not underrated, okay? We all know where J.Holiday is. He's not necessarily an all-star talent, but he is a damn good starter. We all know it. He's not underrated. At this point, it's reaching they sleep on Dame levels. No, I'm not implying that J.Holiday isn't as good as people say he is, but that's the point. People are saying he's good, but he's also not no top 5 point guard. Hell, he's not a top 10 point guard. Where is he underrated? Are you arguing J.Holiday is top 10? Is J.Holiday better than Kemba Walker, De'Aaron Fox, or Trae Young? I guess you could argue Ja Morant. You'd be wrong, but you could, and I wouldn't be upset. bet, but like, if you swap those teams, you telling me Jrue Holiday is gonna take the Grizzlies to the offs? Yeah, okay. But that's where I'm getting at. Like, where's this Jrue Holiday's underrated notion, but yet everyone knows he's between 10 and 15 type range, right? Like, how is he underrated? But yet we all know this. I'm not going to say he's overrated because I haven't heard any crazy takes like Jrue Holiday being better than Kemba Walker or Trae Young type stuff, but I'm just pointing out that he's definitely not underrated. Oh, this is gonna hurt a lot of feelings. Dame's overrated. And Dame is a tricky one when I say that, because a lot of people do have some common sense and don't think he's better than Steph Curry. But even the ones that don't think that shit, bro, they think that he just curb stomps on Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook. Like, they think that is not a comparison at all. And that's the furthest from the truth. And it's crazy because at first there used to be a they sleep on Dame thing that was accurate. Then it got annoying. Then it became a meme. And now Dame is definitely overrated. There are people who genuinely believe bro is better than Steph Curry because Steph Curry has all-stars on his team, which is nothing short of stupid because we literally just saw a whole finals run of what Steph does if he's alone. But okay. But I'm even going to give that benefit of the doubt and chalk that up to other fan bases hating Steph Curry. But you should see the amount of clowning you get if one person thinks Kyrie is better than Dame Lillard. Don't get me wrong, I do at the end of the day think Dame is better than Kyrie, but my God, is it close, and y'all act like it's not. Neither are defensive players. Both are extremely clutch, arguably the most clutch in the game right now. Kyrie has a better mid-range game, handling ability, and finishing ability off of the dome. Both are elite shooters. I'll give that edge to Dame, and both are insanely clutch. For real, it just sounded like I said Kyrie's better, and I think Kyrie's more skilled. The difference is the athleticism. I think Dame has such a big edge on that where I'll go, okay, Dame's better. But let's not act like they're not close. Or even with Russell Westbrook, who I'm not even the biggest fan of. Granted, to a much lesser degree, because Russell Westbrook isn't as skilled as either of those guys, but he is a better passer, he is way better on defense, and he's way more athletic. But if Dame was as good as you guys say he is, Dame would at least have made a finals appearance, or at the very least had an MVP under his belt already. Now, what I'm about to say about Ja ain't really his fault. Ja's overrated for the solo fact you guys really think he's better than Zion Williamson, or you guys compare him to the elite echelon of point guards. We all know about the Ja versus Zion debate, but there's people that really compare him to Trae Young. There's really people that think that he's a better player than Ben Simmons. Like, yo, let's chill a little bit, right? I'm not even a Ben Simmons fan, but let's cool it a little bit. I love Ja Morant's game, and I love what Ja probably will be, granted health, the future situation that he's put in, and literally just time. Like, bro just gotta keep playing. But Ja Morant oozes potential, and let potential be potential. It's not here yet. Ja Morant is even better than De'Aaron Fox right now. The most toxic thing about sports communities is they don't let the young players develop. Like, look at guys like Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram. We were shutting their shit down when they were stinking it up in LA, and let them develop, and now everybody's like, oh yeah, Brandon Ingram's cold. Like, let Ja develop. Let Ja make the narrative for himself. Don't put him in situations where it's like, damn, you gotta be better than Zion. Damn, you gotta be better than Trae Young, and he's a rookie. Just relax. Jalen Brunson exists, so yeah, I'd say he's perfectly rated, because who the hell is slandering or praising Jalen Brunson right now? He's a pretty average guy. Before 2017, Russell Westbrook was my favorite player, but the media made it too toxic, bro. I couldn't. But I think Houston going small saved Russell Westbrook from becoming overrated again. 2017, Westbrook's the most overrated player of all time. All because he averaged the chippa-dabba. Nigga lost to Harden in 5 games, lost to a rookie in 6, and got waved away by Dame Lillard. And although most of the Russ stands still exist, most of the common community doesn't have Russ even as a top 3-point guard anymore. We all acknowledge he's a good player. We all acknowledge the system he's in. Nobody really cites Westbrook except those stands from 2017. Chris Paul's underrated because all people do is check stats for validation of players. This man, Chris Paul, really went to OKC and dragged them to the playoffs regardless of the roster. Not to say the roster's bad. SGA, Gallinari, Steven Adams, they got a bunch of good players on the team. But I've had people tell me Russell Westbrook is a better passer than Chris Paul because Chris Paul only averages 6.8 assists. Shit, let me take it a step further. I've had people tell me that Chris Paul's not even the best scorer in OKC. Y'all take stats a little too far. Like, when people do their top 10 point guards, they're real quick to put Chris Paul around that 10 to 8 range. Chris Paul could easily go all the way up to like 6. I understand the game nowadays is all behind the 3-point line or inside the paint, but that mid-range game in close game situations, I'm telling you, you're gonna wish you had Chris Paul to finish the game off. Numbers don't lie, but stats don't tell everything. Remember that. Before the season started, Mike Conley was overrated. Now they chilling. I don't know what it is about every single season, but it's always some boring ass team that everybody loves to say is gonna dog up, especially after they sign another defensive player, and that player was Mike Conley, so that's why he was overrated. But once the shit calms down and once everybody puts their heads together and like, okay, yeah, they're really good on defense, but they're not gonna win the whole fucking chip. Yeah, okay, Mike Conley's not that good. Like, people stop capping. Happens every year. You pretty much get used to it, but it's annoying every offseason. For the sake of longevity, I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. Jamal Murray's perfectly rated. He gets a highlight every now and then, but he's really crucial to the Nuggets. We all know that. Pat Bev is slightly overrated, but that's just because you think his defense is god tier when really is just aggressive. Not saying that's wrong or bad or anything, but he's not a fundamentally sound god tier defensive player. He's just really aggressive. He gets in your face. He's a pest, and that's good. That's not even just my opinion. That's almost every elite point guard's opinion of Patrick Beverley, so I'm just gonna take their word for that. As a Lakers fan, I don't know who our point guard is. We just lost AB. Rondo hasn't played well with us. Quinn Cook's young. Either way, it doesn't matter. We all know the Lakers need a point guard, and we would play Caruso more, but that's just unfair for the league. The only way John Wall would be underrated is if people forgot, which is extremely possible because recency bias dominates every sport. But as long as you're not residing in the DMV, John Wall's perfectly rated. But if you're in the DMV, you already know how toxic it is. John Wall is the GOAT. John Wall is better than Kyrie. John Wall is better than Dame. He's better than Curry, better than Westbrook, faster than Westbrook. Like, bro, it don't stop, bro. It just does not stop. Markelle Fultz is perfectly rated, and honestly, we're all just happy he can hoop again. We all recognize he has a long way to go, but at the same time, we're all just happy he's playing. Jesus Christ, Kyrie Irving is underrated. Oh my God, I never thought I'd say that. Again, as I hinted to earlier, a lot of people throw him under the bus comparing him to Dame. I can admit, though, most of it is probably just from people who hate Kyrie Irving, but then that just means a lot of people hate Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is a positive to almost every team he goes to. Kyrie Irving cannot win by himself, we all know that, but Kyrie plus another star is an instant finals contender. A lot of people point to Boston and think Kyrie just doesn't play winning basketball, and that's the definition of bullshit. What happened in Boston was Jason Tatum is an up-and-coming scorer. Jaylen Brown was fast-tracking some offensive prowess as well. And the team plays team basketball. That's their identity. A lot of passing, lots of ball movement, even on defense. They rotate a lot. But then you inject Kyrie Irving, who is an isolation scorer. He's not just a scorer. Kemba Walker is a scorer, but he's not a guy who needs to stop the ball to create his own offense. Kyrie Irving, his whole career, has been that isolation ball stopper. Before and during his time with LeBron in Cleveland, what did they do? Give Kyrie the ball and get out the way, right? Or that was the narrative, that LeBron wasn't taking the last shot and he's just giving Kyrie the ball and getting out the way. In no way, shape, or form am I saying Kyrie Irving was the best player on that team or was even the best scorer on the team. But what I'm saying is that's how they let Kyrie work. That is the optimal situation for Kyrie to score and play basketball. Now, I do think Kyrie needs to avoid microphones at all costs. I don't know how he consistently throws his teammates under the bus, but he finds a way. But regardless of what he says off the court or how he may act, that does not take away his talent as a basketball player. There's only one point guard that can win a finals as the best player on this team, and that's Steph Curry. But for the most part, point guards are complementary players to greater scores. I don't even need to dive into it any further. Just wait until Kevin Durant comes back and watch the respect Kyrie gets once he's in his optimal position. Ben Simmons is kind of overrated. We all know that he can't shoot. In fact, we all know that he won't shoot. But everyone is acting like Ben Simmons' game is polished and he just can't shoot. Ben Simmons has a lot to work on. His slashing ability could use some work. His finishing ability could use some work. His handle could use some work. Ben Simmons is not this guy who is a jump shot away. Ben Simmons has a lot to work on. I hate the narrative that Ben Simmons is a jump shot away. He has a lot to work on. Malcolm Brogdon's perfectly rated. I personally believe him playing full-on point guard's a bit much for him, but he's still playing well for that Pacers team, so that's cool. The only time Kendrick Nunn was overrated was the one time he won Rookie of the Month. That was pretty toxic. Although Kemba Walker is less talked about, Kemba Walker is still evenly rated. He's just regressed his game for Jason Tatum. Fred, kinda overrated. He's not the most efficient scorer, but that's mainly what he does, but he's still a really good shooter. Really, he's just overrated a little bit because of that whole final series. He was balling like shit in that jump though. Eric Bledsoe, I think, is overrated as hell. He's not really that good defensively. He's not the quickest guy, but yeah, he's just a slasher. He doesn't really shoot well and he gets a lot of playing time. I just don't think Eric Bledsoe's that good, but hey, y'all can have that shit. He's just Eric Bledsoe. If you made it to the end of this video and you're upset that I didn't include the teams that didn't make it to Orlando, it's because because I'm making a separate video on those teams in the near future. The chances of Steph Curry and Trae Young being the highlights of their video are extremely high, so there's no need to talk about them right now. They're gonna have their own separate videos. But on that note, you've made it to the end of this video. Thank you for the support. Hopefully you guys have subscribed, hit the bell notification by now if you didn't do that already. Also drop a like. It's been your boy TSO Sage. Subscribe if you don't want me to die in this heat, and I'll see you next video.